Okay, so now that we've got our delineation, we can also create flow paths. So these are, you want to typically, because swim approximates the subcatchment as this rectangle you see up here in the top right. It has this concept of length, which we set by these flow paths, which we're about to create, and then width. And width is the most least physically representative parameter within the model. So in order to get an approximation of this width, we want to use a couple different flow paths to get a length weighted average of the flow path for the subcatchment. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to Tools and select Subcatchments, and I'm going to go to the Set Area Length, or I'm sorry, Set Flow Path, Flow Length / Width. And here you could choose a flow path layer, but we don't have one yet. So I'm going to create one, and by using this tool to create it, it properly sets up the attribute table for the flow path layer. And when you use the flow path layer that it creates, it will set the parameters such as name for you for the subcatchment instead of having to do that yourself. So now that we've got that layer, we can select that layer, go to Add, and zoom in here and draw some flow paths. So we can imagine that water travels back behind these houses, and the flow path should take the same route as a drop of water. So again, going perpendicular to the cross sections, or I'm sorry, to the contours. So there's one flow path. And I just realized my basin name is set to 2, so I'm going to rename this 7-1. Okay, so I go back to this flow path layer. I can add another one, maybe a bit shorter one. So if a drop of water fell here, you can imagine getting into this little roadside ditch and traveling along this roadside ditch all the way down to this little culvert that's going under the road here. Now that we have our flow paths, we can use the tool to set the flow length and width for the subcatchment. So we go to the tools and we select our flow path layer that we just created. If we click this Analyze button, it doesn't actually apply the changes yet. It just gives us a table letting us know what the area is, what the average of our flow paths lengths are, what the current width is set to, and what the new width will be set to given the flow paths in our layer. So then we click Apply, and now if we look at our subcatchment parameters, we can see that our flow length is that what we just saw there, and then the width is also the value that we just saw, so it applied those to the subcatchments.